Can you hear me, Justin?
I can, Curtis.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay.
So, like I said, it's a little after 6. You do have a form if you want to go ahead and get rolling with this. It's your call.
Okay. Yeah. If we've got a quorum, let me. We can go ahead and get started before we start having problems. Let me see.
Well, we still kind of have to follow the agenda. We'll do the call to order and invocation and all that.
Right. Yeah. That's. We're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Now I don't see them. I guess you can see everybody. All I see is names. I don't see anybody. But if you say we have a quorum, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're gonna start off with an invocation by Justice Reed, and a pledge of allegiance by Justice Green. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
You can. Hit it, Doug.
Okay, so we can start off with an invocation by Justice Reed.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time and for this technology that we could meet when we're having trouble like we're having, and just pray that you would protect everybody and help us do some business tonight in good spirit. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Is there a need for a pledge of allegiance or?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, to the republic which stands
one nation under God, indivisible.
liberty and
Liberty
for all.
and justice.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I don't see Amy, but I'm going to ask Amy if she would please go ahead and call the roll.
Yeah, Amy had some problems trying to work remotely from home, so I'm gonna be Amy tonight on that one. So
Okay, cool.
when I call your name, just unmute yourself and signify. Mr. Reed,
Here.
Mr. Denton, Mr. Denton, Mrs. Lewison,
here.
Miss Blackwood, Miss Blackwood. She just logged on. Miss McMullen.
Here.
One, Miss Massey, I see you. Miss Coney. Miss Coney. Miss Green.
Here.
Mr. Keith, I see
Here.
you.
Okay.
Mr. Jefferson. It's got him. Mr. Robinson. Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy. You were on earlier.
Here. Can you hear me now?
I got you. Mr. Stowers.
Present.
Mr. Elliott. Paul, you still on? I believe Paul. And Miss Medlock.
Here.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 13 members present currently.
Okay, so we do have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next on the agenda, item 5 is approval of minutes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So move. I second.
A motion was made with the second that we approve the minutes from our last meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. I am not aware of any unfinished business. And it's a lot of background noise. So we'll go ahead and get get into our ordinances. Justin, would you please read item 20I-83?
Yes, sir. 20I-83, an ordinance amending ordinance 19 OR 32, 2020 annual budget, Pulaski County, Arkansas, to recognize and appropriate reimbursement funds for the Crisis Stabilization Unit.
Justice McCoy? Was he?
He's the sponsor, yes, sir.
Yeah, was he on? I forgot.
He is. Luke,
He's muted.
he needs to unmute himself.
Okay, I just unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Make a motion to the full court with the due process recommendation.
Second.
A motion was made with the second that we send item 20I-83 to the full quorum court with the due pass recommendation. Would you like to explain, Justice McCoy?
Mr.
Is he
McCoy?
going?
Can you hear me?
Justice McCoy, are you going to
Yes, sir.
explain or?
I guess I would not, only because of the form we're in, but also I believe everyone's familiar with the crisis stabilization unit. If anybody has any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? And there appears to be no questions or comments nor discussion. Justin, would you go ahead and please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Miss Medlock. Miss Medlock. You need to unmute yourself to vote. Mr. Elliott.
Aye.
Oh, okay. Mr. Elliott. Mr. Elliott.
Paul is
Mr.
muted.
Mr. Stowers.
Yes.
Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson is absent. Mr. Jefferson.
Yes.
Miss Green.
Here.
Miss Coney.
I'm sorry, yes.
Oh, Miss Coney, there you go. Miss Massey.
Aye.
Miss McMullen.
Yes.
Miss Blackwood.
Aye.
Miss Lewison.
Yes.
Mr. Denton. One voting. And Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Looks like with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 ayes, 3 non-voting.
You missed me, Justin. I don't know how.
I'm sorry, Mr. King.
So I do vote yes.
All right.
So that should be that extra one, that missing one. So by a vote of 13 ayes, 2 absent, we will send item 20I-83 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Justin, would you please read item 20I-84?
Yes, sir. 20I-84, ordinance amending ordinance 19 OR 32, 2020 annual budget, Pulaski County, Arkansas, to recognize and appropriate grant funds for the Community Services Department for the Housing Opportunities Persons with AIDS HOPWA program.
Justice Massey? You're on mute. We need to send it to the full quorum court.
I think, that move
Second.
Okay. A motion was made with the second that we send item 20I-84 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Justice Massey, would you like to explain, or is there someone available?
I believe I have Mr. Love that would probably be able to answer any questions on that.
I do see him. This is Representative Love.
Good afternoon, Court. This is the HOPWA program. As you know, we took this program on. We currently have about 40 people in the program, and we're renewing this grant with through the city of Little Rock.
Okay. Are there any questions, any comments? No questions or comments? Thank you, Representative Love. Justin, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Denton, Miss Lewison,
Yes.
Miss Blackwood, Miss Blackwood.
She's muted.
I'm reading the list. Looks like a yes.
Yeah, she's
Miss Massey,
Yes. My,
Miss Coney. Miss Coney,
I didn't see her.
Mr. Keith,
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson is present, Mr. McCoy, Mr. McCoy,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Stowers,
Yes.
Mr. Elliott,
He's muted.
hey, Paul, can you unmute yourself, bud?
Somebody's dog.
Miss Medlock.
She's muted.
Miss Medlock.
I'm here. You
Oh.
admitted.
I got Miss Green was a yes.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes.
Miss Medlock. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who done this?
you missed me. Kelly?
Oh, Lily, I'm sorry. How do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Paul, Stacy, Parker, Aaron. I got 11 ayes, Mr. Keith.
Okay. Wow. By a vote of 11 ayes, we'll send this to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Justin, would you please read 20 I-85?
Yes, sir. 20I-85, an ordinance amending 19 OR 32, 2020 annual budget, Pulaski County, Arkansas, to recognize and appropriate grant funds for the Community Services Department for the Homeless Management Information System.
Justice McMullen?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we send this item to the full court, to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. A motion was made with the second that we send item 20 I-85 to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Justice McMullen, would you like to explain?
Well, this, of course, this grant, this grant is coming from the Department of Human Services down to Little Rock. Let's see, down to the down to City Hall, and from City Hall to the camp. So Mr. Love is there if anyone has any questions further than that.
Okay. Representative Love, do you have anything to add to that?
I just have one clarification. With this funding, Mr. McMullen, and this funding is coming straight from DHS to us, and it's an agreement. Usually with HMIS, what happens is that the funding is given out to the agency, and then they pay us to provide the licensing for the homeless management system. And DHS has now just made an agreement between Pulaski County and themselves just to give us. That's kind of the only. It is an agreement. Is the funding to us administer the information system.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Love. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, what is HMI, Representative Love? What is HMI? Okay.
For the
Okay. Any other questions or comments? There being none, Justin, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. I believe Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Mr. Dent, did you jump on? Miss Lewison.
Yes.
Miss Blackwood.
Aye.
Miss McMullen.
Aye.
Miss Massey.
Aye.
Miss Coney. I could have sworn she jumped on. Okay. Mr. Keith.
Yes.
Ms. Green. Miss Green.
She's muted.
Keeps getting muted. I'm here. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Jefferson.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson. Mr. McCoy.
Abstain.
Mr. Stowers.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott. Miss Medlock.
Mr. Jefferson is muted.
I'm sorry, Miss Medlock, what was that?
No, Stowers is muted.
All right. All right, Mr. Chairman, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeses, 4 non-voting, and 1 abstention.
Okay. And that's still by a vote of 9 and 1 extension. We will send that to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. Is there... That is everything on our regular agenda. Justin, was there something else we needed to we were going to take up tonight?
I believe that you need to probably recognize Miss Blackwood.
Okay, Ms. Blackwood.
Yes, my question was that I was going to take off the table tonight the amendment that had to do with the salary, with the vacation time that was dealing with the people in the sheriff's department. Now,
Can I help you, Ms. Blackwood? Can I help you out a second?
Yeah.
I think the motion you want to make is to pull item 20I-79 from the table.
Right. But what I wanted to know after we got the when we got all the stuff later today from Fogelman, and he said it was illegal for us to do this, which I had no idea that this was illegal for us to do. So what I was wondering, if he was here today or here tonight, that he could explain to us why this was illegal for us to, I had no idea that this was an illegal move for us.
Okay. Do we need to pull it back, Justin, before we discuss that, or how do we?
Correct. So if you want to debate it and get it on the table for discussion, it's going to require a motion to pull 20I-79 from the table. And where you will be at that point, if that motion passes, is right where you left off, which was discussing the amendment that had been introduced by Ms. Metz.
Okay.
But you have to pull it from the table first.
So Justice Blackwood.
Even to discuss it, we have to pull it from the table.
I mean, unless you want to talk about it, but if you want to get it on the floor, that would be the best thing to do. But there's still an amendment on the table once you take it from the table. That's where you will have left off. You would be the amendment that Ms. Medlock introduced.
Right. But where our problem lies is when Fogelman sent out the deal that said it was illegal. Is he here tonight to discuss that with us?
Adam, I don't see you on the call, Adam.
Can you hear me, Justin?
Oh yeah, okay. Adam is here.
Oh, good.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what I to discuss, because when he sent that out, we had no idea that was an illegal move for us to make.
So with
Adam, what needed to be done in order for it not to be an illegal move? I needed to know what we needed to do in order to what needs to be done.
Okay, I think Adam is about to speak.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Adam. You have the floor.
Just for the record, this is Adam Fogelman, Pulaski County Attorney. The memo that I sent out was at the request of Justice Reed. He asked after the last meeting that I provide an analysis, just a summary analysis of the proposed item against the law and with relation to the legality of it. And the question that came about after Justice Stowers asked, while the amendment was being debated, if I would address that, but I believe the item had already been moved to be tabled, and so that I did not provide an answer to the question at the time. So the statute that I referenced in the memo very clearly requires that personnel policies must be general in nature and uniform in application to all employees of county governments. So you can't single out one department or departments of a single officer of the county to have one set of rules different than the rest of the officers. The amendment that is proposed is temporary in nature, and because it's temporary in nature and because of the timing of the proposed amendment, it gives you, or it identifies a subset of county employees that this would benefit and none other. And because of both the timing of the proposed amendment, and when I say proposed amendment, I mean if it is adopted as proposed to be amended by Justice Medlock, it still gives me concern because you can identify that small number of county employees who would benefit, and no other county employees would derive any benefit from this. If it were longer in its application, even if it were temporary, it is more defensible because then employees over the next year or two or however many would be given the opportunity to take advantage of those provisions, even if it's set to expire. So that's my comment on the item. If you have other specific questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Hey, Adam.
Thank you. I have a question, Curtis.
Okay, I've got a quick question, Lily, and then I'll come to you. Adam, are you aware of the state doing what we were trying to do, where they were allowing a specific number of employees or a select number of employees to actually carry over more than 240 hours? Were you aware of that?
I am aware of that, and the provision of state law that applies to counties is specific to counties and does not operate to limit the decisions that the General Assembly makes in the operation of state agencies and state departments. So they can set rules for counties that are different than the rules that they set for their own departments.
Okay. All right. Ms. McMullen. Mute. You on mute? She on mute.
Thank
You on?
you. All
Okay.
right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It appears to me then that there is one option that we might consider, and that would be extending the length of time to maybe 2021. That might be considerable. Also, we don't know what type of problems, in other words, we don't know how long this unusual period might last. So maybe it would be appropriate to extend it even to 2021. And I'm presenting that question to the chairman, you, Curtis, as well as to Attorney Fogelman.
So on the policy question, I will have to leave that to y'all. On the legal question, with respect to the extension of its application, meaning that it would apply for a longer period of time, it would be more defensible if it did apply for a longer period of time. Y'all just have to make the determination of whether that is the best and appropriate policy for the county.
Wow. Justice Black, would you?
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate for me at this point to make to make a motion to amend Ms. Medlock's policy so that it will extend for a longer period of time?
So you're offering a substitute motion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Justin.
Let's cool down for a second, guys. You still need to pull that item from the table before you can start making any adjustments. You have an amendment that is currently on the table by Ms. Medlock. So if you wish to start debating, discussing, and altering that piece of legislation, the first step is to withdraw it from the table, which will require a motion and a vote.
Okay. Julie's saying, okay. Julie's saying something, but she's muted. Now,
I move that we pull item 20I-79 from the table.
I second that.
Okay. And a motion was made with the second that we pull item 20I-79 from the table. And that requires a vote, right?
Yes, sir. It's non-debatable. It just goes right to vote.
Okay, so if you'll call the roll, everybody understands what we're doing. We're pulling 20I-79 off the table so we can go ahead and discuss what we're going to do with carrying over leave.
Okay. Ms. Medlock. Ms. Medlock. Mr. Elliott. Mr. Stowers.
Yes.
Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson. Mr. Jefferson.
Abstain.
Ms. Green. Mr. Keith.
Yes.
Ms. Coney. Ms. Massey.
Aye.
Ms. McMullen.
Yes.
Ms. Blackwood.
Aye.
Ms. Lewison. Mr. Denton.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 yeas, 1 no, 4 non-voting, and an abstention. So item carried.
You say item carried?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
where you guys go now is that you have Ms. Medlock's amendment on the table that's being debated. So the floor, Mr. Chairman, go to Ms. Medlock, who is in control of that amendment at this time.
Okay.
I voted to pull it.
No, she we pulled it off the table. Now we get a chance to discuss it. But Ms. Matlock, is she on the phone? Is she on the call on the? Because I don't remember what time.
Mr. Keith, I think that she is having some technical difficulties.
Yeah. All right. So you basically go back to you're debating the amendment. So you either want to vote the amendment up or down, or now you would make alterations to it.
Motion to adopt Ms. Medlock's amendment.
Second.
Proper motion and second, Mr. Keith.
Okay, a motion was made with the second that we adopt the amendment to 20 I-79. Now, and just for clarification, I need to know what time frame were we talking about in the amendment?
Okay, so the motion to adopt the amendment was already made. You guys have already hit that process. You're in the process of debating that amendment.
Right.
Ms. Medlock's amendment extended the ability to go over 300 hours to all county employees instead of just the sheriff's office.
Right.
And it carried over 50% over 300. So if you had 400 hours that you were carrying over into 2021, you would carry over a 50. So that 100 hours you were carrying, it was half of what you'd accrued over 300.
Okay, but wasn't it a time that they had to use or lose it once if we allowed them to carry over?
Yes, sir. They had until the end of 2021 to utilize that leave time, and whatever they didn't use by the end of 2021 would go into the catastrophic leave bank.
Okay. Now, okay, so my clarification based on that, Adam, is that okay? I'll get right to you, Barry. Based on what you were saying, Adam, is that not appropriate for us to do that, or do we need to extend it more to allow more employees to utilize that or benefit from it?
Justice Medlock's amendment addresses one of the concerns that I have. The other concern remain the concern about limiting it to just one officer's departments. It would be eliminated.
Okay.
The concern about the limited application of time, which would ultimately benefit a known pool of people, that concern still remains.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, we need to extend it past 2021.
And I'll kick the question back to Justin if you will allow me on process and procedure on how and whether and when that additional change might be made.
Well, the easiest way to do it, if that's what the body wanted to do, would be to have Ms. Medlock withdraw her amendment and then have an amendment introduced, the same thing, but extend it from 2021 to 2022. That would be the cleanest way to do it.
That was my understanding.
Right. So,
but Justin, is she on the line?
She is, but she's not responding. So, step number 2 would be you're gonna introduce an amendment to her amendment, which now we're getting murky, to extend it from 21 to 22. And if that's what you want to do, then you're taking more votes.
Am I allowed to make this motion now?
Can you hold on one second, Ms. McMullen? Barry had something he was trying to get in.
I have a question too.
Hey,
okay.
Thank you. But I think you answered my question too, Adam. That's the same question I was going to ask him. So thank you so much, sir.
Okay. All right. Who was Lily? Oh no, it was Judy. Judy, what did you have?
I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If Adam says this is against the law for us to do this, what are we doing? Are we trying to change the law?
That was going to be my question. So I agree with you there, Judy. Ms. McMullen, what did you have?
We're gonna change the laws just for one department.
No, we're not. I'm sorry.
Okay. Miss Green, if I can clarify before we get off the rails, what you are considering at this time is an amendment to an ordinance that would extend that benefit to all the employees who have 300 accrued hours. So this is your top 25% tenured employees that would possibly benefit from this. So it's extending it from what was just the sheriff's office to the entire county and all departments. So any department has an employee that has been around long enough to accrue time over 300 hours in a single year would possibly be able to benefit from this, assuming that they could use that time in the next 2 years. So it's a little broader of a proposal than originally planned.
And if I may interject, I think I spoke with someone earlier. My concern on just doing a blanket, especially since we can't do it specifically for the sheriff's department, why would these individuals, why were they not given the opportunity to take their leave? I mean, because it's my understanding some individuals had the opportunity to go home and work from home, and maybe that negated the fact to take leave that they would have normally taken. So I don't know that that would be, in my opinion, I don't know that the same weight would need to be given to them as a department that had to continually work overtime and was not given the opportunity to, to take their leave. So now that we can't do it specifically for one department, it's causing me to look at it totally different. But it's 15 votes here. So
if I'd like to make a procedural suggestion to make this as clean as possible, because I know that an amendment is forthcoming to the amendment, would be to.
I was going to make an amendment if y'all would allow me to speak.
Right, and I'm trying to make this a little bit cleaner, would be to either vote on Ms. Medlock's amendment, and if you want to shoot it down, then you vote it down, and then Ms. McMullen can come back and make the amendment to extend it to 2022. It would basically be amendment 2 to the item. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, so that would be a cleaner, less confusing thing, in my opinion.
Okay.
So if we can, and we do already have the amendment on the table, so can we go ahead and vote on the amendment that Justice Matlock has introduced, which is to extend it to everybody through 2021?
Yes, yes. That you can vote it up or down, and if it fails, then Ms. McMullen could come in and say, we want to do, until 2022.
Could I make a comment, please? I'd like to make a comment on that. I want everyone to understand, though, in reference to Judy's point, that still leaves an issue, though, if we vote on Ms. Medlock's. In other words, there is that problem that still exists that would not be in compliant with the county's policy. And so that is why we want to extend it through 2022 and vote Ms. Medlock's amendment down.
And I think if that's what you guys want to do, you would vote it down, and then we can introduce amendment number 2, which would mirror Ms. Medlock's, but it would extend it to 2022.
Has any other department asked this of us?
I'm not aware of any other department. Are you, Justin?
No, sir.
Okay, so
It would be available for them.
Yeah, no other department has asked that we extend the leave because of their inability to take the time off. Justice Jefferson?
Thank you. And I'm kind of glad you brought that point up. There have been no other department, but actually there's no other department that have people that work 365 days, 7 days a week in a hazardous place where they have an opportunity. I mean, they have a chance to catch COVID because they have different people coming in and out their system and things like that. That's the reason why this amendment was brought up. And I just want to make sure people are clear on that. That's why I was supporting the amendment. That's why I abstained from voting for the amendment, because I want to make sure people understand that these are people who are working every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days. That's why. But I just want to make sure that's clear. That's all I have.
Yeah,
Right.
Mr. Curtis, if I could have a point of privilege on that as a staff member for Pulaski County.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I would like to remind everybody that the county coroner's office works 365, 7 days a week, and they have a very difficult job. They are exposed, and they are dealing with a very difficult situation. I would also like to say that juvenile detention and that staff works 365, 24/7. So before we start making blanket comments about what staff is more vital than others, let's bear in mind that every employee in this county is vital, and a lot of them are putting themselves at risk. We just had an election where you had clerk staff out there in the streets exposing themselves in the public. So I think we need to be reminded, that everybody in this county is important, that all of our staff are important, and that we do our best every day to make sure that we're delivering the services that the people in this county need. And I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I appreciate that point of personal privilege, Mr. Keith.
Thank you. So what we're going to do is go ahead and call the roll, Justin, if you call it on the amendment.
Yes,
sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Reed.
No.
Mr. Denton. Mr. Denton. Miss Lewison.
No.
No.
Your voice got deeper, Miss Lewison.
No.
Sorry, I couldn't get my phone to work.
Miss Blackwood.
No.
Miss McMullen.
Am I voting to pull the amendment?
You're voting against Miss. You're voting for or against Miss Medlock's amendment.
Against.
Okay, so you're
no.
Mr. Bessie. Miss Massey.
No.
Miss Coney. Mr. Keith.
No.
Miss Green.
No.
Mr. Jefferson. Mr. Jefferson.
No, sir.
Mr. Robinson. Mr. McCoy.
No.
Mr. Stowers.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott. Miss Medlock.
At first, I'd like to say, guys, I'm sorry. I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't hear anything, and it was very frustrating. I ended up having to call in, so I do apologize for that. But yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 no's, 2 yays, 2 non-voting.
Okay, so the amendment to 20 I-79 has failed. So we're back to the original item that would just target the sheriff's department. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's
okay.
Where you're sitting right now. Yes.
Okay.
So we need someone to make an amendment.
Somebody's gonna, and before we make that amendment, I want just, no other department has said anything about extending any leave. So go ahead, whoever got it.
Make a motion. I would like to make a motion. Can you hear me?
No, we didn't hit a motion.
Okay, can you hear me now, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
I think at this point, it would be appropriate to make an amendment. And that amendment would mirror Mrs. Medlock's recommendation, as well as extend the time frame to 2022. And my reason for making this amendment is that whether anyone has asked for the time or the privilege doesn't matter. It will be available for them. And that way we will be in compliance with the procedures and the policies of the quorum court.
Okay.
It's been handed down to us by the state.
And
I
can you did everybody understand that? Did anybody understand that?
Yeah, and if I know that in the format it's a little difficult because normally we could probably break and then put an amendment on your table. As it happens, I happen to have the exact amendment for the motion that Ms. McMullen just made. So what you would be doing by her motion is the same provisions that were proposed by Ms. Medlock. Only difference being they would extend those hours through 2022, and I will have that amendment if it is passed in your email this evening.
Now, she didn't get a second yet.
Second.
There you go.
A motion was made with a second that we amend item 20I-79 to take it to 2022 to allow all departments, no matter what reason they don't take their leave, to have this, the ability to carry over additional hours. Is there any discussion?
Justice Keith, this is Luke McCoy. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
I have two questions. And,
yes, sir.
Well, I'm sorry. I have a question and a comment, or maybe two questions. But my first question is, should we be concerned of any sort of fiscal impact? I know that the fiscal impact was mentioned for both Justice Blackwood and Justice Medlock's amendments, if I'm not mistaken. Do we have any idea what the financial impact is for all departments, extending all the way into 2022?
Okay, and I don't think
I guess, yeah, Hutch is not here.
Yeah, he was earlier. He must have. I think we gave a figure.
I will. Go ahead.
Mr. McCoy, I think we gave a ballpark figure last time. It's really kind of a zero to, maybe a $500,000. But you have to consider the fact that is dependent on who uses what, when they use it, and when they're cashing it out. So technically, if I'm carrying 460 hours into next year, which would be an additional 160, I could take off the last 2 months of work and then cash out my max 300 on December 31st. And that's where you're going to get into some financial exposure. But I think most of that is probably budgeted for as far as the payouts. But that's a tough decision, or a tough map put together.
Yes. I guess I don't have a second. Go ahead.
Well, and just one thing to go along with that, Luke, and I guess just to clarify what Justin is saying, when we originally said this was just through 2021. So if we're adding an additional year to that, is that not an additional potential for exposure?
I would say that there would have to be some, and bear in mind, there's about 300 employees out of 1,200 that'll benefit from this.
Okay. And
those are employees that are tenured, they've been here a while, and there's still accruing time through 21 and 22. So if I'm carrying over an extra 180, I'm also accruing an extra 180 next year and the year after that. So how they use that and how that works out and how much time they take off is really and it would be determined probably more on the departments that were able to provide that time off. So putting a number on it for 2 years, I couldn't venture to guess. That's out of my pay grade.
Okay.
I still have a couple comments to make.
Okay, go ahead. You still have the floor or the camera.
Thank you. I just want to point out that I asked the sheriff myself the night that that Justice Blackwood brought her ordinance to the quorum court. I asked him what sheriff deputy brought this to his attention, and he answered none. I found that kind of surprising. That may not make or break this ordinance, but I thought that was a little surprising. And my last comment is this: if I'm not mistaken, this will probably be the most attractive carryover leave policy that I've ever heard of. And so, that's probably a good thing. But I don't know that it needs to get any more extensive. But I'll conclude my comments with that.
Okay, and just one thing I'd like to do as chairman, we do have a director here, and I'm just curious what his input would be, because he's got employees. Representative Love, are you still here? Can you provide us some feedback with input?
Well, and this is just to think about it, is that I have employees that
That seems well planned.
Okay, you faded out.
Can you hear me? Hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out. I can hear you now.
So I have 3 or 4 employees that would benefit from this. And so my question is this initially is I try to encourage my employees to take their leave and bring it down beyond the 300. And since they've been here for so long, they just accrue a lot more leave than others. They may be earning 3 or 4 weeks, but I still try to encourage them to get down below 300. So if this ordinance passes, then how does that affect me still encouraging them to get below the 300 mark? That would be my thing. Number 2 is while all employees are valuable, when you begin to talk about, if Sheriff Higgins can let his employees off versus if I can let my employees off, I can manage that a little better than if he, who's in the public safety realm, if he lets his employees off. Now, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be able to manage that, but it's a lot different me letting a grants administrator or an inspector off versus him letting the officer off, because that means there's a hole in either securing the jail, there's a hole in, maybe traffic. Going patrolling the county. And so I think it's a little difference when you begin to talk about not the value, not placing a value on the work that any employee does, but it's just a lot different. So I view it from a perspective of, if 5 or 6 of his employees say, well, I want off because I'll lose my time, then does that mean he cannot let those 5 or 6 employees off? And then what is the detriment to him letting 6 or 7 employees off at one time? And so I think it's just a little bit different than me saying, well, I'm gonna let 3 of my employees off at one time versus, you letting public safety officers off at one time. So, but back to my original question is, how would passing this ordinance, how would it me encouraging my employees to still take leave beyond the 300, or can they say, well, Frederick, I don't have to take, they just passed the ordinance, I don't have to take my 300, I can just continue to let it roll over. So I'm just curious on the answer to that question.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of hands up, and we'll see if we can get an answer. Justice Jefferson.
I'll just be going quick. It's not going to take that long. Just make 2 points. The first point is to Justin's response. I agree with you, Justin, that every employee is important. I work at a a health institution. I think every employee's is important, no matter what they're doing, from the doctors all the way down to the housekeepers. I think they all important, and I think we all know what the responsibility. But on the other hand, I understand. I want you to understand that because everybody is important in their own realm of work, but sometimes some of the work or some of the employees are a little higher because they're at more risk. And I just want to make sure we understand. It's not saying we think they're more important. That's saying that, hey, we think they got a high level job where I can take off as a clerk, but as Chris said, like a deputy that was patrolling in McAllen, he can't take off. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I had a conversation with different deputies, county employees about this same issue. All the employees agree that I've talked to that they understand what the sheriff's department is going through. They feel sorry with the sheriff. They understand why they ask because they can't take off another person. They take off. These are 7 different employees from different counties that's talking about this issue. This is important that I have to see that we have to really think about what we're doing here. So I'm really encouraging, and I think all county employees employed. And I have not said they wasn't. I was out today with the Road and Bridge people today, so I think all of them is important. But I understand that hey, there are some that who risk their life a little bit more than others, and I just want to make sure I make that point. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Justice Jefferson. Justice Blackwood.
And I don't know how to speak. I don't know how to signify that I want to speak. What do you do?
You're speaking.
Okay, you're next. Justice Master, you're next. I saw Justice Blackwood. I see your hand now. Okay, Justice Blackwood.
But isn't this a moot point? Because the problem is we can't single out just certain groups. Is what they were saying. Is what Adam was saying. Can't single out separate groups. This is what he was having issue with that we had to do county. Wasn't that what Adam's first problem?
Yeah, that was my understanding. We couldn't single them out. Yes.
That we couldn't single them out. But I single out there.
That was our reason.
That it was illegal, that was our county, that was according to our county laws, that was illegal.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, is that it, Julie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, all right, Donna.
Thank you. I came on this call prepared tonight to vote for this. A little frustrated because we didn't have all the information. I'm not laying the blame anywhere, but we should have known before now, or the person sponsoring this should have known that this is illegal, because I don't know how to vote on this now. I do not want to give or put us in the predicament or the situation where we're going to owe billions of dollars or $500 million in vacation time, possibly, for all of our employees for the next year or two. I don't like this as it is. And as I said, I definitely came in with the mindset to support this. I would like to know from Adam, is there any other way to do this without costing us so much money?
Potential exposure. Adam, did you get that?
Sorry, what?
No, I was asking Adam, did he get your question? I don't know. Is he still here?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I would like to call a question on the item on the table right now.
Cool with me. That is non-debatable. Justin, would you please call the roll on?
Mr. Keith, can someone repeat the motion that's on the table right now?
Yes. Justice McMullen, would you like to repeat the motion?
Okay, well, Curtis, what the motion right now is for immediate consideration, so you need to call the roll on immediate consideration, and then you can call the roll on the item as amended.
Okay, all right. So So we're calling the roll on the question right now.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
Explain.
Mr. Reed, if you want to go ahead and vote it up, and you will vote yes, and then you can vote on the item as amended. Reed.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Aye.
Ms. Lewison.
Yes.
Ms. Blackwood. Ms. Blackwood. Aye. Ms. McMullen.
I'd like to, but I'm going to abstain for the sake of those who still have questions.
Ms. Massey.
Aye.
Ms. Coney. Mr. Keith.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
No.
Mr. Jefferson.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson's non-voting. Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Mr. Stowers.
Yes.
Mr. Elliott. Ms. Medlock.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 ayes. The motion carries.
Okay, so we are, it did carry, so we can go ahead and vote on the amendment to item 20I-79 as amended. And we need to go ahead and restate the amendment.
I'll go ahead. So your vote
Okay.
on the motion to 20I-79A as amended to the full quorum court with a due pass recommendation. That's what you're voting on. So, Ms. Medlock.
Justin, we voted to accept the amendment already?
Oh no, I guess you're right. No, you have to.
No, I will say we ain't.
You have to adopt the amendment. I'm sorry.
We have to adopt the amendment, so we're voting to adopt the amendment.
Right. This would be amendment to I-79. I thought it was already agreed.
Can someone please restate the amendment?
Okay.
Amendment Justin McMullen.
Amendment 2 will be exactly like Stacy's. That will extend the extra leave time to all county employees who qualify through the year 2022. And it mirrors these, it just lengthens it from 21 to 22. That's the amendment.
Okay, any questions?
All right.
Clear? Oh, no, it ain't no questions. Okay, go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Keith, is that what we're voting on right there?
Yes, sir. That's what we're voting on.
All right, Ms. Medlock.
Aye.
Mr. Elliott. Mr. Stowers.
Yes.
Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson. Mr. Jefferson.
Yes.
Green.
No.
Mr. Keith.
No.
Ms. Coney. Ms. Massey.
Aye.
Ms. McMullen.
Aye.
Ms. Blackwood.
Aye.
Ms. Lewison.
Yes.
Mr. Denton.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
No.
1, 2,
Aye.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeas. 1, 2, 3, 3 noes. 1, 2, 3, 3 non-voting. Amendments adopted.
Okay. So amendment to 20I-79 has been adopted. So is there a motion to send 20I-79 to the full quorum court as amended?
So move. I so move.
Second.
Okay, there's a second. A motion was made with the second that we send 20I-79 to the full quorum court as amended. Any discussion on that? There being none, Justin, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Reed,
No.
Mr. Denton,
Aye.
Miss Lewison, Miss Lewison, Miss Blackwood,
Aye.
Miss McMullen,
Aye.
Miss Massey,
Aye.
Miss Coney, Mr. Keith,
No.
Miss Green,
No.
Mr. Jefferson,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. McCoy,
Yes.
Mr. Stowers,
No.
Mr. Elliott, Miss Medlock, Miss
No.
Medlock. No?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 noes. 1, 2, 3, 4 non-voting. Item fails.
All right. Well, item 20 I-79 failed.
The lawyer already.
Hi. So, who said something?
May I, point of order, Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Would it be appropriate to ask some of those who voted against the measure to state their reason,
I don't mind stating my reason.
if they so choose?
I don't mind stating my reason. The lawyer, he said 2-page, 3-page letter to us.
Hey,
And he already told us what we were doing were against the law, they were illegal. And so I didn't want to be a part of voting to change the laws. We're talking about changing the state law.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you guys want to, further go into, discussion after the fact, that's fine. But I mean, I don't know if it would be where this would fit into justifying after the fact. If those comments want to be made in the comment section, I think that would be maybe appropriate at that time.
Okay, so we need to go ahead and end the meeting and then ask for comments. Okay.
Move that we, I so move that the meeting is adjourned.
Without objection, so moved.
Second.
Are there any comments? Are we to the comments now?